We back at had to do a little sound check. All right, so we back in the building. Be that as it may. Uh-oh. Ah man, got a little technical difficulties right now. Okay, there we go. All right, we back at it. We back at it. So for the most part, we looking at things, as of right now in the world. What's going on? Everybody stepping in. Lisa J. Stocks, Shay Love, M Mills. What's going on, everybody? All right, so we gonna get right on into it. So, as it stand right now, you have NAR, the National Association of Realtors, has a issue at hand. So they're gonna be making less on their commissions, you know, due to the fact that a lot of people, went to court and was like, man, why I gotta always pay so much money when I'm trying to buy a house? And so the issue at hand, it poses to where, on commission, they normally get anywhere from 3 to 6%. And let me get this right because I don't want to mess this up. The seller's agent has to split the cost with the buying agent, and that's why most of the time when you go buy a house, delegating certain things makes it smoother in the buying process for most, and the seller has to retain a lot of the money, off of selling their houses, and for the most part, you're gonna have to force these realtors now to be more involved because with them not making that extra money to a degree, they're gonna be out the door. So they're saying that this is going to be a big uprise in the housing market to where people are going to start buying more houses. But needless to say, just because I save a couple of dollars doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to technically go and buy a house now. And a lot of people are doing the math because you got to look at the housing prices are not going down, they're steady on the incline. People's salary is not going up, you know, unless you're actually at a job that promotes, pay increases by the year. Dr. Dunbar was going on big discussion 76 in the building. And when it comes down to it, just overall, due to inflation, everybody's jacking up the prices on the house. Because if you do the numbers, a lot of people are, in the green. There are far few in the red on their properties, unless they're doing a lot of reconstructing in that area where they, things are bad with the crime. Um, the market over there isn't so good because there's nothing being built. There's a lot of vacant houses. You know, Cool Gamer, what's going on? Tamika Davis, how you doing? And to a degree, when gentrification steps in, a lot of people don't like the terms or the using of gentrification, but you know the neighborhoods have to get built up, and the people around in the communities are tearing it up. I mean, let's have an understanding. When it comes to gentrification, it happens in all communities in all areas of life. If there's a need for someone to make money, they're gonna come in that area and benefit off of that. So, you know, the issue at hand a lot of times when you having these housing markets to where people wanting to buy, they're looking at the interest rate. There's a point of always refinance because let's have an understanding. 2019, 2020-ish or so, game show in the building. What's going on, Prince Pierre? game show host. How you doing now? Hey, y'all go check out my boy Game Show, spitting that knowledge over there. But when it comes down to it, a lot of people think like when the 2019 20 houses, those those houses were, I guess, relatively above or to a degree, to an extent. Wellness for Frugal Mama in the building. What's going on, Frugal Mama? And those houses were at a decent price. A lot of people could afford those houses, and those houses were, at a decent standpoint. Now you have it to where the house are a little bit above pay grade for most. When it comes down to it, a lot of people looking at the situation of not being able to afford houses because the inflation on the houses, you had a $90,000 house is now going for 200,000. And, you know, let me break that down for a moment. We're not looking at the issue at hand where in Georgia alone, where I'm at, you had three companies bought at minimum, I would say at minimum, probably about 40,000. But they showed in the news there were three companies that had at least 60 to 70,000 houses, overall, not just in Atlanta, but throughout the whole state of Georgia. And what they were doing was going and buying these houses. They control the rent rate. They control the value of the houses. So if I'm a major company, I don't want to shoot no names out there, but I can come in your community, buy a house for 150. Boss lady in the building, what's going on? Buy a house for buy a house for 150,000, and a couple of months I can go sell that house to another developer for a company I also own and sell it for 250. I made $100,000 profit off that sale of that house. Well, you have the next door neighbor say, well, if their house sold for 250, my house should sell for 250. Then it presents a domino effect to where if you upgraded the same features as the other house, when the appraisal come, hey, the same price. And over time they bumping the numbers. I mean, I would not say it hits 100 like that. Assuming most of these companies come in and buy houses and use them for rentals, they'll bump them up an extra 25, extra 50,000. All they're doing is basically pulling out the kitchen, putting in new cabinets, put a new flooring down from carpet, and the normal, the fix and flips, you know, compared to a lot of people that are doing the Burr method, where they buy it, rehab it, renovate it, and rent it out. And the things that a lot of people get into when they get into the market, knowing what they're getting themselves into. Because, like I said, companies are coming in and inflating the property pricing market. Then you have they're talking about the realtors are going to take a dive on this, in which they're not happy. So you're going to have most of your real estate agents not giving you full attention. And to me, it's always been like that for the most part. That when I've always looked for a house, I've always looked myself and had the realtor, in which, one of my friends, he actually, each one of his houses, he found himself through listings from other sites plus his agent. And that's the thing, you have some agents that actually, go and do their job. They'll go and tell you how old the neighborhood is, how old the house is, how long the roof has been up, you know, looking at the different updates, how the floor is, what type is this, linoleum, is it real hardwood? Like what's going on? They take pride in their job. So those are the agents that you really want to use in looking for a house. And now that's going to be on the downstream because agents are going to have to either do two things. They're going to step up to get more clients to sell more houses, or they're going to kind of more or less dummy down and just throw you a list and say, hey, When you find a house, tell me then. But other than that, I don't really want to, have this back and forth or, trying to fit your dream home or your perfect home, and I'm not getting fully paid for it like I used to. So that's going to be a point of concern when buying a house now in the near future. But like I said, going into it, whether you buy a house now, buy a house later, you can always refinance. That's the key. But when buying a house later, due to inflation, I guarantee those prices on the houses are still going to go up. They might deflate a little, but going into the future, everything having a cost is actually going to go up. So, for the most part, I'm not saying to buy a house, but if you were to buy a house, personally, my bet is to buy one now and refinance later when interest rate go down. That's your best bet. Young Riaz in the building. Long time. I've seen you popping around, man. You making it around. Uh, Another thing I want to get into for the most part, um, step back off the real estate for a minute. Have anybody heard about the gig job now? So what they're trying to do is actually take these gig jobs from an I-9 where you're pretty much self-employed, and go back to a W-2. And the crazy part about that is a lot of people prefer working gig apps over a 9 to 5, to the point where you have literally so many people that are doing this, and it's posing somewhat of a big threat towards a lot of companies. You know, you have a lot of contractors, you have a lot of gig apps, delivery drivers, Ubers, people that are doing contract works on the side, third parties, I'm sorry, not third parties, and subcontracting through other companies for a major company. And in return, the government is seeing that, they're having an issue with it. So now versus you having your regular job, J3 was going on. Well, versus you having your regular job and then turn around and coming back and having your side hustle, whether it be Uber and stuff like that. Because I mean, let's have an understanding. There's a lot of people that are in this gig app. I've worked in different industries and doing deliveries, and I've talked to people who are IRS agents. Prime example, one of the guys that I was a close friend with at the IRS, me and him talk, socialize about things. There are more people making a lot of side money, almost making more than their regular jobs, and it's to the extent to where the IRS had to step up their agents because it was so much they couldn't keep up. You know, starting with the gig apps, you have a guy that can go out every day and make money on the side when he leaves his job, and stay out, make three to $500 if they hustle back and forth, anywhere from $300 a day easy. You know, most of the time they can make $100. Just quietly doing deliveries and things of that nature as well. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the companies are feeling like they taking the hit on it due to the fact that if you're doing the deliveries, well, who's going to be doing the FedEx route? Who's going to be doing this route? Who's going to be able to, deliver and run this route if that's the case? You know, when you have other points of delivery, like Pizza Hut or something like that, who's going to be delivering the pizzas when, necessarily if you're going to Grubhub and getting a pizza delivered, then that cuts off on a pizza man who works for Papa John's or something. So in all, they're looking at it as they're losing so much money, they have to either do something because let's be honest, most people that are doing these gig apps, they don't file their taxes the way they should. So in return, it's like big numbers are being made and nobody's keeping up with it because before you know it, you can go to another gig out, work another gig out, work another gig out, and over time, you're just, hey, making money. Tap Tapped in and enjoy what's going on with you. All right. So when it come down to it, like I said, they're looking to try to do away with the I-9 on the gig apps to where everybody's not self-employed. They're gonna have to go ahead and go into a company, get W-2s, and they were having this big discussion in California about this, about the wait time when drivers are doing for Uber. When they're doing that wait time, they're not getting paid off of that. So they're looking at, hey, if a driver's not getting paid on the wait time, you know, they're just sitting there, they're sitting in the car not getting paid. Let's say you do a run for $14 and for 2 hours you're not doing anything, you're not making $14 an hour. So it's an issue at hand in which most companies, they say, well, that's the cost of doing business. And the government is trying to step in and say, well, you need to pay these people into a situation to where they signed up for something that they can do as a side hustle. They control pretty much how many routes they do and the amount of routes by going in different areas. Hey, if this area isn't working good for the gig apps, I go over to another area. If this area is not doing good in gig apps, I can go to another area and so forth. So that's how you work with that. When it comes down to it, just plain and simple, it's to me it's just another form of the government actually pretty much stepping in and trying to control a lot of people's ability to not work a 9 to 5. Because guarantee, if I'm doing this gig app, if I don't want to work today, I can cut it off. You know, most people have so much control and freedom over their jobs now. Pretty much, I knew a guy. Shout out to Big Rooster. I knew a guy that that's all he did was did the gig app. He turn it on. He'll make a whole bunch of money for the week, and it get to a point where he said, "Well, I don't want to do nothing for next week. I made enough money. I paid my bills. Anything extra is just extra money for me. I got money set aside for wife and kids. I'm not gonna do anything." So he'll go a week or 3 4 days without even working the gig app. Because at the end of the day, he has the money now to, actually facilitate and make this work to where a lot of people at hand, they have to go to work. They're on their last strike, they can get fired. So that's like kind of the, you know, fork in the road with that. A lot of people use these gig apps to whether they don't want to work a 9 to 5 and they're doing just mainly to survive. And then a lot of people use these gig apps in order to, as side money, and that side money is very lucrative to them to do things outside of their 9 to 5. Where if they got these things reported, hey, it might be a conflict of interest. Because I mean, let's have an understanding. There's a lot of people that do little side hustles that don't want to be reported, and a lot of people do work up under the table. And the gig apps kind of broke that up a little bit to where you can make the money and not really so much work up on the table so they can control, and see what you're doing and how you're moving. So let's have an understanding with that. Then when it comes down to it, you know, not only that, you have people that work from home. They do, 3, 4 hours on their terms, and then they're done. They have like a little surveys to where I talked about this when I was doing my reviews on how to make money through gig apps, to where you can literally use gig apps to work your 9 to 5, or you can use gig apps as side hustles. I talked about how you can take a gig app and run these gig apps to a degree to where you can literally just clock in, do an hour of work, and go back to sleep. You know, some of these gig apps you can use. What was the one I used to talk about? AUX for people that have microphones, I believe, or ACX, ACU. I gotta look it up. I'll put the link in the description probably, or I do it on my community or wall, where people who have microphones, they can literally go on this app and do voiceovers for books and things of that nature. So a lot of people that get into the market that want to do voiceovers, a lot of people get into the market that want to get into, Audible. There's a lot of books that need to be read. There's a lot of people who write books that don't have the time to sit there and read these books to people. So there's an option for people to do that. I talked about the option of doing surveys. There are a lot of products that people have. I took advantage of that. It was a website called UberZone, and it's now discontinued. But with UberZone, mainly what you were doing was getting products from Amazon for pennies on the dollar, pretty much probably what they paid for it, and they needed reviews so they're able to get people to buy their products. So doing that until you were able to get a coffee maker that probably costs $200 or 150, and you can get it for the sum of anywhere from 30 to 50 bucks. Give a response, talk about how you like it, talk about the do's and the don'ts of it, and that gave that product reviews for people to check it out, because that's the first thing where, in my opinion, that I do, or a lot of people that I talk to, that they do when they first thing they do when they're trying to buy a product or something, they go to the reviews and see how the product stands up, see how well the product is. So that's one thing to get into about the gig apps, and just be looking forward to that, where when it comes down to it, hey, it might be in reverse because, like I said, under the administration right now, Biden, he's trying to do away with a lot of these side hustles and gig apps, to the point where he want to be forthcoming and be open and basically go back to the old days and put it back on pen and paper, to where we know who's working where and know what they're doing. And it's gonna be a quick one going into retirement. People looking into retiring, you know. Just talking to one of my old friends, guy known working in job, and we were having a conversation, and his whole thing was like, if I knew what I knew now, I would have saved more money. I know Social Security was good, but I didn't know that Social Security was gonna get me into a standpoint of this, situation. And he makes money, he have enough money, but to a degree, he rather have more. There's things that he want to do and have to, be on a strict budget. So, having family vacations, going to see the grandkids now because he's older, is on a very strict budget on things. And so he has to take that into consideration when, spending. So that was the one thing that me and him was talking about yesterday. So I just want to touch on that. Um, a lot of people need to look into, having some form of retirement planned out. 401k. Everybody's thinking about Social Security. As it stands right now, the youth are not working, so they're going to be paying for our Social Security. A lot of these kids are doing side hustles. They trying to get up under the table. They don't really want to work. So that's an issue that we're gonna have, going new into the new age thinking of these young kids, to where if they're gonna be paying for our Social Security, we might be screwed. And to a point, if we do get Social Security, you know how many people kind of to a degree get dummy down about these situations, to where, oh man, as long as you retire, that's all that matters. Are you gonna actually have enough money when you retire? You know, because that's the thing. We have these talks about situations about money, but nobody's actually um sitting down and having a hard talk. So literally sitting down with a financial advisor, um, talking to somebody like Alonzo about weighing their options. I mean, quite sure Alonzo has a lot of videos I've looked on myself about retirement, about having accounts to where, life insurance to where if you get sick and to a degree get some illness, to a degree they have living benefits on your life insurance. I have that as well to where if I get sick and I can go into my life insurance and depending on the illness, I can take anywhere from 25, 50 to 75%. If it's something that's real bad, I could take up to 75%, pay my bills, probably pay off the house, get some things ready for the kids because at 75%, you pretty much almost have to do it. So why not plan for stuff like this? I was talking to the guy and he was saying that, for the most part, that him having his military benefits, having his social security, it paid in the long run, but he wish he just had a little more. He has his car note, has his residence where he pays his mortgage, but to a degree, sometime it might get a little tighter, and he always say, well, more is always better, not less. Shout out to Big Discussions for that. And it gets to a point that hey, you literally have to count your pennies sometimes. So when you rather get to a point of being comfortable where you don't have to count your pennies, where you want to step out and do something or buy something, it's not to a point to say, well, maybe next month or I'm at the end of the month of my spending. I got a budget for the beginning of the month. So hey, until I get my check, I can't take that trip or I can't go to one of my friends' birthday dinner. So let's have a discussion on that. And I'm be doing more of that later on. And credit cards. And just real quick on this. I'm not a credit card savvy type person, but I did want to touch on this about the points. A lot of times people are getting these credit cards for the points. And I've got bamboozled and tricked into it to where I'm steady running to chase points. And chasing those points, a lot of times you get to a point where you're not even able to spend the points. Like there's no like actual way of pulling cash off when you get your cash back. How you able to do that? Like me, I've got a American Express. I've taken my cash back and bought gift cards with I like my points. I took the points and bought gift cards because it was better for me to buy a gift card versus taking the points and paying down on my card. If I pay down on my card, I think it was about let's say 5,000 points give me $50. Well, I take those same 5,000 points, I can get a $75 gift card. So I'm actually getting $25 more. So I'm like, why not do that? It's a better option for me. I was like, I don't know if it's a error in the computer, but the points should match up, but to a degree it didn't. So hey, I was fine with that. But overall, like I say, knowing your options and weighing your options, it's better suits you. Just something to get into. Like I say, having a discussion about credit cards, just really talking about the point system and how they do it. It's kind of weird to a degree for me, but at the same time, like I say, it's worth talking about. All right. And also having a conversation, and this is going to be the last one that I want to get into is can you afford it? A lot of people are actually in the process of buying a house, buying a new car, where you need somewhere to stay, you need transportation, but the type of house you get, the price range, the type of car you get, and the price range, can you afford it? And me and Dr. Dunbar has talked about this, before. And it gets to a degree, like I've told my wife, she wants a BMW. I told her I can buy that BMW for you all day. The maintenance is going to be the issue, you know. And a lot of people fail to realize that when they're purchasing things, you know, even when buying a house, you buy a house, the upkeep of the house is killing most. And that's more or less where you have the bigger issue with that. Buying that home, the upkeep, new roof. If you don't figure out about the roof, you're gonna need a new roof. Um, Situation with your water heater, appliances, stove, refrigerator, all those things have to be maintained. And to a degree, all those things will at some point either break, go out, and it has to be replaced. So, what will be your standpoint in fixing those things and making sure that you're able to stay in that house as long as possible, whether it be having kids and keeping them in a nice neighborhood, or to a degree, overall avoiding the rat race and paying for rent. I mean, having an understanding that a lot of people use that to, actually rent because they don't want to have to buy a new roof. They don't want to have to buy appliances. They'll let the guy who owns the property take care of that. And in some cases, Mello, what's going on? And in some cases, the crazy part is this: when you're in a situation where you're in a area like California, New York, where the buying a home is just so outrageous, it's in your best interest, in my opinion, to rent versus buy. And saying that to say, when it comes down to it, there are literally a lot of people who go through the buying process and get to a point where they can't afford. Some cases, $4,500 a month. You can make that $4,500 a month to pay for a house in New York, California, 55 to $6,500 a month because you make the money, right? But if anything comes to like a pinch to where you lose your job, you get downsized, that means a decrease in your money, you know. Respectively, I've told my wife when we set out to buying a home, I expressed to her that we need to have a house to where it can at least go off of one income. And then as we progress and make more money, still have that same mentality, you know, or a person can work to the degree to where they can have a side job and mostly pay for the house. And a lot of people are not having these discussions. I want the big house. I want the house with the marble top. You can buy marble tops after you buy your house. Man, I want the big vanity. You can buy the big vanity after you buy your house. Majority of things in the houses can be replaced, can be fixed, you know, can be upgraded. I've seen people take front doors and have those open swing doors, the glass frames and all, from a little wooden door with no peephole. I've seen people have screen doors where it's just a little wrought iron screen with the door, and then they have the storm doors where they have the glass, and then you upgrade one to where you have the glass that transfers into a screen after you pull it up. Things in a house can be upgraded. So when you set off to buy a house, just because you find a house and shout out to HGTV, for people that watch the home building and networking channels. There was two brothers, twin brothers called the Property Brothers. They did a great job at showing people this modern thinking that I need to buy the best house. I need everything in this house when I go to buy it, or I could just go ahead and build it this way. And there's another show called Love It or List It, and that came up with the same concept to where people were getting these houses and they didn't like them. They said, "Man, I want to leave this house. I'm going to buy a house," and they're spending all this money on a better house, and they just renovate their own house and love it versus list it. So that's another thing to where, like I say, when people are buying these big houses, Take advantage of looking at the smaller houses that are cheap that you can save money on and do the renovation later. A lot of people are not handy or savvy with a tool, so they prefer to buy something that's already ready made. And there's nothing wrong with that. But over time, steady ticking, steady ticking, steady ticking. And a lot of times people don't take into consideration just because you're paying $2,000 this month, this year, within 2 to 3 years, your state, your taxes, and your insurance are gonna always go up. And if they're attached to the mortgage, you can say, "Man, I've been staying in my home for 20 years. I guarantee you're not gonna be paying the same amount of money from when you first bought that house." Taxes go up. That increases your property value and makes your property's worth more. Insurance is going to go up because you know not even if you have thefts in the area, it's just a point. Inflation, they're going to go up regardless. So a lot of people never take these things in consideration. Just because I'm at the top tier of my budget when buying this home, in the next 5 years, if I don't make enough money, I'm not going to be able to afford my home. And that's the thing to which a lot of people don't take into consideration when buying their home. There's a lot of issue at that for most people because when it comes down to it, like I said, buying at the top tier, you know, your budget is 5,000, I'm spending 5,000. Why not dial back a little bit and instead of spending 10,000, instead of 5,000 is my budget, why not go ahead and get a nice 2,000, $1,500 house and go ahead and renovate it, fix it up. They have loans for that. Uh, I forgot the name. Ah, man, I had a brain freeze. It's 2OK. I know it's not 4OK, but it's 2OK something loan to where when you buy the house, you're adding in the construction costs of the build of the house. So say somebody buy a HUD home. HUD has it to where you can add those finance charges with the fixing of the house because you're staying there into the finance. A lot of people don't know that because they don't actually take the time and look into it. You know, that was a lot of things I looked at to where when buying a home, I could have bought a quad, stayed in one of the units, and had the other units get paid through the mortgage where I could have stayed rent free. That's an option. You know, a lot of times we have issues with situations with buying homes, with buying cars, because I got to get the bins. And like I say, I told my wife the same thing. I can buy you the bins all day, but you got to be prepared for the maintenance. And the maintenance on that home is going to be excruciating when it comes to, the maintenance on that car is going to be excruciating when you have to change a light bulb for $250. And they're making it to where these cars you have to take them to the dealer due to the fact that they make more money when the dealer fixes it. Those high end cars, they make more money. Going to get an oil change in a Benz, there's a special tool that you have to have to, drain the oil. It's not like going to do a Chevy or something to that degree where you could just take a wrench. You could take some grip pliers and whatever, or take a socket, you know, a metric or whatever socket, 10 millimeter or whatever, 3/8, and stick it on that bolt, pop it off, no problem. You actually need a special wrench that they make, and depending on the year of your car, they're changing those tools so they can provide more people going to the dealership. And food for thought, they have a actual website called Car Care Kiosk. If you go to Car Care Kiosk, and I've been using this for years, I've always told my son and my daughter about it. Just when you buying a car, have a car, basic necessities. I recently just got a car, and the first thing I did was Google all the issues concerning that car. So now that I know that if I get this car, these are the things that might go out on this car. So I have to, be prepared for that. And also get to a point where if I buy this car, I might want to get an extended warranty, you know, making sure that the miles are, suitable for the extended warranty and getting something that suits my pocket. And like I said, the website is called Car Care Kiosk. And Car Care Kiosk, it has everything do it yourself to where they teach you how to, take out the air filter, which a lot of these videos are on YouTube or if you Google search. But I like it being all in one place and, kind of help me changing the air cabin filter in the inside. Don't you know most people never change that? When you get an oil change and to a degree, the air filter in the car, you know how much the dealership charge you to change your air filter? $60 to $75. That air filter, most of the time, I think the cabin one, I think I did an oil change and changed all my air filters this weekend. I spent $75. Normally, when I take my wife car to the, excuse me, well, normally I take my wife car to the, not dealer, but somewhere just to get an oil change. Her car, $75 for the oil change. I do it myself, 40 bucks. Buy the filter and the oil, 40 bucks. I'm saving $30. So basically this weekend I did the oil change all the filters. It cost me $75. Oil change was about like I say 40. The air cabin air filter was probably around I say 15 bucks and the other one was close to 20 or so for that one. Probably about around about the same 15, 20, or I might have got a discount on the oil. But be that as it may, $75. If I would have went to the dealership, I'd have paid $75 for the oil change. I'd have paid an additional $75 or close to $100 to change the two air filters. Because I would have had to pay for the air filter and pay for the labor. So in all, I would have been out 150 on doing all this at a dealership. So needless to say, like I said, learning to do things on your own, just the basic necessities, checking your air pressure, looking at your tires every so often, it saves you money because let's say you don't have a spare and you mess around and you have ball tires and get a flat, no spare, you got to tow your car, or find someone that can jack your car up, take that tire off, take you to a dealer, take you to a car repair shop, and get your tires fixed at a tire shop or something. That's key. That's spending more money. You have to budget yourself. You know, learn preventative maintenance now so it won't cost you more later down the line. So, like I say, doing these things help you, as far as in business wise and your budget, everything. You know, going into a recap, looking at the housing market, I don't think it's going to be a big change with the NAR, National Association of Realtors, to actually go down on their commission fee. I don't think it's going to be a big change. I don't think it's going to be a real big push. To a degree, AAA is actually, in my opinion, a good investment. I've worked with AAA, and I've also had AAA for my wife due to the fact that if I'm not around, that would be her better option to call a professional to come out there than to ask a stranger to change a tire. And the funny part about it was I was actually working for AAA when my wife's tire went flat around the corner from one of my job sites. I finished that one up, came, changed the tire, no problem. She was off to go, you know, versus you calling a family member, calling other people. I mean, if it gets to a point, if your engine is seized, AAA has a tow service. to where they can, come tow your car. You automatically say, hey, I don't need a tire change. I don't need this. I just need the car towed. They actually have a tow service that'll come pick it up, take it to one of their providers, or take it to a provider of your choice. So, in my opinion, for women, AAA is definitely needed, and in most cases with men. Kev in the building. What's going on, Kev? 504, man. What's going on with you, man? Haven't seen you around these parts in a minute, man. Nice to see you, man. I hope all is well with you and the fam. Yeah, man. So, like I say, for men too is most because having an understanding that a lot of men don't change tires as much as they do, especially the younger men. You know, I had my son at 16 learn how to change his sister tire. He never done it before. I made him go out there and do it. You know, yeah, a lot of people do roadside assistance through their insurance as well. And to the degree that's a paid feature that most people have on their insurance, they just don't take advantage of it. And in some cases, I've had it back in the day when I had Sprint. Sprint had it as well as a feature that if I had paid my bill and stuff, if you look on there, a lot of times they had that on there. We just never paid attention to that little $3 fee that they were charging because nobody really never broke down and looked at their bill. Okay, okay, nice to hear, nice to hear, nice to hear. Yeah. So, and then in another case with roadside versus AAA, the AAA I used to work, they sold batteries. So one good thing about AAA and their battery, point is if you actually, what's going on, Alonzo? See you in the building. With AAA, if you actually buy a battery for them, they have a warranty plan on there for the next 3 to 4 years, well, pretty much 4 years before the battery goes out. And that's typically batteries go out around 5 years now. They're not the old typical diehard batteries. So yeah, it has its benefits. Yeah. And just like roadside are able to come out there, change your tire, put some air in your tire, you know, they're able to give you a jump your car off. But far as the plus with AAA, depending on which AAA coverage you have, they have people that come out and service you with a battery, and it all depending in the area because certain AAA's they know that battery is a big concern, so they technically majority, like I said, when I worked for them, we had pretty much every battery on stand, pretty much from the AMG batteries that a lot of luxury high end cars use where they had the smaller ones. I think it was the 95s or I think the 124s was the Hondas. The 90, no, the 95s were the pickup truck. The 120, what was it? I'm lost. I ain't changed batteries in so long. I forgot the AMG battery size, but it's pretty much like I said. They have a plethora of batteries to where you can swap a battery in there and keep it moving. Have a credit card, slap that credit card down, pay for that battery, you off to going home. And this is crazy food for thought. I literally changed my hours because I work Monday through Friday. They let me be off on Mondays and I had to work. No, no, what it was, they let me be off Monday, yeah, Sunday and Monday. So I work Tuesday to Saturday. Just not working on Monday actually changed my pay dramatically. And you would say, how so? It's like that, what's they call it? FOMO, that fear of working on a Monday when me working for AAA. Everybody just wanted to get home. They just coming off somewhat of a break, like dealing with the weekend. And then you get to a point where, man, I just want to go home. I don't want to sit in traffic. I don't want to deal with none of this stuff. And now my car is messed up. I'm at my job. My car battery dead. I got I gotta go. They'll go ahead and pay for that battery. Same thing with Monday morning going to work. Your car doesn't work. You get it jumped off, and you say, "Man, can I make it to work? This and that." Yeah. All right. Cool. Some people say, "I don't even want the risk. Throw in another battery so I won't have to deal with this when I get off work." Needless to say, I had a lady. I jumped the car off. She drove it to work. Got off that afternoon. She called, and just so happened I came right back. And she was like, "You told me to buy a battery. I didn't listen. I was trying to be cheap. Now I got to buy a battery." So it has its benefits. To me, AAA is, the batteries on the battery side is beneficial. But other than that, your regular insurance roadside is helpful. All of them have a time frame in which they try to connect to you, depending on the area, anywhere from 45 minutes to like a half an hour, like a tow truck provider. Some of them get to you quicker than that, depending on, like I say, the drivers in those areas. But yeah, it's a thing to you, especially for women. Like I say, for some young guys as well now too, because more and more guys are not able to, fix on their cars, know about cars. So it's beginning to be a thing. Now to take it back from women that actually know how to work on cars as well. But like I say, more and more women pretty much use their service than anything. Okay. And Alonzo just put us on that. They counted as a claim. Yeah. Oh yeah, that is true. You did run an all state, Alonzo. I seen your videos with you in the office with the all state in the background. Your old videos you dropped. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like I said, going into that situation, like I with the realtors, you know, getting a percentage cut off their commission, that's going to be a thing to where are they going to be, suiting you better in your pursuit to sell your house and also in your pursuit to buy a house. Yeah. And then you get the perks. Yeah. That's another thing with AAA. You get a lot of perks off of hotel stays. Different companies provide, discounts for AAA members. So that's also another perk as well for that, you know. And they if I ain't mistaken, they have like discount rates for you going online for travel. So, like I said, that's always an option. Going into the credit card, like I said about the points, just like I say, real brief on that. Buying credit cards, using them for the points, it's a hit or miss. You know, to the degree the point system might be good for some, not good for all. You be the judge of it. Going into retirement, Alonzo's in the building. I've told you guys, go look at his channel for a lot of retirement. The older guy that I was talking to, you know, he loves being retired, but at the same time, he misses the freedom to where he can do what he wants. So a good thing for you to do is look at the point of saving money. Look at the point of investing other than All right, as we about to end this, shout out to everybody. Yeah, I was on mute. I had a call. You know, usually I don't answer the calls, but when it's a money call, I gotta answer. But at the same time, though, shout out to everybody. And we went through everything: retirement, housing. Oh yeah, and the gig out. One more thing with the gig out. You know, they're converting I-9 people into W-2s. Now, you have to look at the upside and the downside of this. They're wanting more reported income, which they already have with most people. It's just some people are falling behind and not reporting, you know, a lot of times. So appreciate that. Thank you, Emil. And when it comes down to it, there are situations to where a lot of people want to reap benefits of things. So they have to look at the cost. Is it beneficial for me just to go do a 9 to 5 or just do the gig apps? Like I said, known people that make $1,200. We have one of the YouTubers alone that work on gig apps. I talked to him. He says, I want to push the numbers up. He makes close to like 100 or 2,000 a year just doing nothing but gig apps. A man, a truck, and a dream. That's all he do. But shout out to him for that. And like I said, I might even have to go back over some of those gig apps and like I did in previous videos, showing you the listing of different gig apps that you can use to make money on the side. So after you get off work, hey, hit a gig app. Shout out to Dr. Dunbar. We always talk about it. Big Discussion 76 is in the chat. Let me hit his channel so y'all can look at him. You might want to go over there and sub and check out his content. There we go. Big Discussion 76 in the building. And we always talk about your 9 to 5. And we say, pretty much for the most part, when it comes to your 9 to 5, what are you doing from your 5 to 9? Your 5 to 9, after you get off of work, are you just sitting there lounging, not doing anything? Are you working on a business plan? Are you trying to develop things to, better suit your income? Are you working on things to better suit your family and overall, well-being? Because like I say, we're going to get old. We need to have that talk now versus having that talk later in life. We need to have a situation to where we're communicating and focus more on the major goal and the bigger picture, you know. So a lot of people get into the gig apps, they make money, but it's to a degree like long term, is it benefiting you? And how are you spending the money when it benefits you? So we're gonna have those discussions or in between. But shout out to everyone. I'm about to go head over to Miss T with the T and get some content talk. So for a lot of people that have Miss T channel can go over there and get it started. And she's focused. Her topic today is the benefits of the community. The benefits of the community. So having a community, how it helps, benefits you and your channel. But to then, you know what I say when I get off of here? Always, we here and we gone. Appreciate you for listening in. Thanks.